Alright. Uh, I guess what's going on? It's been a while since I've done any kind of video that's not just, funny trash music. And I figured I haven't done anything on my cameras in a while. And I've gotten a lot in the past couple of years. You're just gonna have to mind this box on the side, because if you couldn't tell, that's what the camera's on top of. So that's not really gonna be able to move. But I'm gonna go chronologically from oldest to newest, just because I can. So, anyways, first one I have here is a Kodak. I like this funny thing here. This is your camera stand. As you can tell, nothing very complicated feature-wise, and you might be asking, how do you open it? Funny enough, it's this button hidden right here. Push that down, it cracks open, and you slide this up, and there you go, you have your camera set up. Unfortunately, right here, this is supposed to be your viewfinder, and it's a mirror that you set up right here, so you can look through it and it shows you your camera, but someone's taken the mirror piece off. But you can look through here and you can see it, although it's upside down. So that would be your viewfinder, but as I said, unfortunately it doesn't work. And right here you've got your field of view. The lens is a little cracked in here, but I do think it would actually still work if I was able to find film for it, which is a very funny thing to be saying about a 100-year-old camera, which I will get to in a second. Right here the date says 1915. However, if we go in the back, take this off, which this is where you would put your film. Right here, let's see if I can get it set up. The newest patent is September 9th, 1902. But if I had to guess, this camera had probably been in production for a while before someone got one of these. This is a folding pocket camera, by the way. I forgot to look at the model here. It's model B4, but it's number 3A Kodak. So, at the very least, this camera is, let's see, 108 years old. But at the very most, it could be, let's see, like 120. But I do really like this camera. Unfortunately, as you can see, I broke the strap by accident whenever I was messing with it, whenever I first got it. But as far as I know, everything else works fine, because these mechanical cameras are very much built to last. Basically, you put your film in the back. I might as well show you. Yeah, so you put your film in the back, and this is basically, whenever you stretch it out, just a massive tunnel for your light to come through. And so then you flick your lens. It's all mechanical, which is why it lasts so long. But you flick it, expose the light onto the film, you let it sit for a while, and you have your picture. Now, I don't think it would be very great quality, but this roller still works, I think. You can just put your film here, stretch it across. Theoretically, this camera might still work, which is really fascinating to me. So, anyways, I don't actually know when this camera was made. I have not a clue, but I think it was the 30s or 40s. This is a Bell & Howell 1.9, as you can tell, 8mm film. Right here, you have your little windy winder, and you wind up your film, and that's how you record with it. And then in the front, you've got some of your settings here. This is for your exposure, funny numbers. I thought you could do something with this. Well, I mean, I guess if you wanted, there are threads, so you could screw a lens on here, but I don't know what kind of lens you would find for this. And then if you go over here on the back, well, if I go the right way with it, then you've got right here where you can put your film in. I'm sure you're starting to see a trend with older cameras having film, but like I've said, as our timeline so far, I have to guess this is probably roughly World War II era, but I actually don't know. And of course, in here, you've got your viewfinder, and these colors are for setting your targets and your borders. So your yellow is going to be the most in focus. But then, in the 1950s, we had Edward Land, who decided these cameras are a bit too complicated or there's not enough settings to them. So he created the series of Polaroid Land cameras. I wish I had the first one, which is the Model 98A, or any preceding them, but I do have the Model 150. So this right here is your button. Push it down, stretch it out, and boom. Immediately your camera is set up. This is very heavy, by the way, if you couldn't tell. This weighs probably 7 or 8 pounds. But right here you've got your flash, which I had not your flash, your whatever you want to call the button that takes the pictures, which I had forgotten to show you guys on the Kodak, but it's the same kind of premise, and that's why I can do it here. That right there is exposing it to light, and as I stated, because it's mechanical, you can just do that all you want and nothing's going to happen. Right up here is your shutter speed. Here's your adjuster for it if you want to move it up or down. But generally, I mean, I just keep it at 10 because I don't actually have any film yet. I'm actually not very sure what this is. If I had to guess, it's probably black and white and isotope camera pictures, but I really couldn't tell you. And right here, you've got your field of view, which you actually adjust with this knob here. You can slide it up or down to focus. Very simple. And if you're wondering what this up here is, that's just for the thing to set in place whenever you close it. You push down these latches. Well, it's a little difficult to get both of them and close the camera, but, and then boom. So then, this is a bit more complicated of a process, but you get a quicker development time than the Kodak camera, which is why it got so popular. And before I get to that, obviously up here's your viewfinder and your rangefinder, one or the other. It's been a minute since I've looked through this, so I couldn't tell you. But to set this up, you open this, and you get this massive fun display. Stick your film in here, stretch it across, close this, a tab comes out, you pull it around, and then you can close it. You open your camera back up, you take your picture, and then you're going to flick the switch here, which I just don't feel like doing. And then after about 90 seconds, you can get this right here, flip it open, and your picture will be here, but it's probably going to be covered in a lot of dirt and stuff, which I wish I had brought it over here, but you usually get some kind of roller cleaner for it, and you just brush it all across here to get as much of it off as you can, and you pull your picture out. So it's a more complex process, but it will produce photos much faster than a Kodak, and that's why these got popular. Next up is an odd one. It's a Yashica Atoron. It's a very small, very strange camera. If you've ever watched James Bond, you might know these. The little spy cameras do the funny flick, and it has the sound. It's been a minute since I've used this, so I can't remember how to set everything up. But what I do know is you have this tab here. Push it, slide this out, and this is where your small roll of film goes, which this doesn't have anything on it, but this is what you put your film in. And you stick it in, boom. Of course, you've got your viewfinder right here, and once you take a picture, then it's done. You've got some settings here. So, right here is setting your shutter speed. So, very simple, very small, but still an interesting thing to have, and that's why I picked it up. By the way, not that I've talked about it too much, but a lot of these cameras I don't actually know if they're functional, but I just bought them for the fun of it. Alright, so for our next one, this is going to take a minute. Got a very large case here, and the reason why this is upside down is because it actually opens from here. So, you've got a tab here in the front, you open it, if you can get it to open. Hold on a second. Okay, it's just not wanting to come out. There you go. And then you have this massive array. Before I get to the camera, I actually want to show you some of the accessories because they're pretty interesting. So right here is a portrait kit number 561. Don't ask me where the other 560 are or what they do because I cannot tell you. But you've got some simple stuff here. You've got a little flash diffuser. you've got what I can only assume to be a macro lens. Oh wait, it's actually a portrait lens that you can put onto the front. And then this is, I believe, another flash diffuser. Yes, it is. Because you have a massive flash that you can have, or you can have a small one. And I'll get to some of the color disparities in a minute. But there's that. I'm actually not going to put that up yet because there's some more stuff back here. This right here is a modification that you can place for your portrait pictures. Not exactly sure what it does because I haven't tried it before, but supposedly it makes it easier to use it. However, if I ever did get interested, there is a manual in here. So anyways, hold on. Moving on to the other side, we have this, which is a massive flash, and with an unusual plug that goes into the camera. And you would clip it on right here, and you can actually move it around just in case there's any specific angle that you're trying to get the flash to go. Maybe there's a backdrop or some kind of thing that you've got to hit it against. Obviously, you've got all this metal to bounce it off, and the reason why this is blue is because a lot of lights back in the day used to use tungsten. If you've ever seen any of the older, maybe 70s, 80s movies, 60s even, they'll usually have much yellower lights, or I guess I should have said pictures, because the movies going that far back might not be in color. But they will, a lot of the lights will be yellower. So this diffuser is made blue to counteract it. I actually have a light bulb over here that does the same thing, but it's made blue to counteract it, and so that whenever the light comes on, it balances out and goes to white. So then you have a much more natural color coming out. So the camera itself, you've got this case in the front. Take it off right here, and we have a Polaroid Automatic 100. This was when they finally started incorporating batteries and electricity into their cameras. So right here, you've got your viewfinder that folds up and down. Then you can stretch this out. And just like all of the ones before it does the same thing. Push this down, you can mess with it, and this is where you can put your lens into. And of course, you've got your settings for exposure here. Right here is where you'll flick it. If you've seen the numbers on these, it tells you the process. So you stretch your camera out, you take your picture, you set the exposure, all that stuff. Alright, so then stick this down. And right here, you've got a spot where you can put your flash. And then if we check around to the back, you've got this tab here, which is how you open your film slot in the back. I cannot remember where the battery goes. If I had to guess, you slide it in right here, but your film goes here, you stretch it across, same kind of thing. However, of course, that automatic setting makes it a lot easier to develop the film and more user-friendly. So that's why it got popular. Now, I hope you like this design because I have 3 more of these exact same cameras, except they're in progressing models. So, of course, this was the 100, which, as far as I know, was the first of its kind. But they had a very long line of these, which I will be getting to. I'll figure out how to close this case in a minute. I'm going to speed through these because there's not a lot of differences, but I'll point anything out that I see. First off, here's the 104, which, you know, funny red color. You don't squeeze this down anymore, it just changes your settings. This is a simpler, cheaper design in the series, and this does not fold down. It is just a viewfinder, and there is no spot to attach your flash. But the general premise of the actual camera itself is going to work the same. Then here we have a 210, which I don't believe actually has any differences. Also down here I have a cold clip, which is a thing that you insert into your camera whenever, believe it or not, you are in colder environments. And then once you take your image, it should balance out, because the colder your environment is, the more blue your image is going to appear. The warmer your environment is, the more yellow it is going to appear. So they tried to counteract this. I believe the only difference is this might be some kind of autofocus, but other than that, it's going to work the same. Then we get down to the 430, which, aside from looking a lot flashier and having a lot of the same settings with the addition of a flash, not much has changed here either, but I believe this is probably the most expensive out of that series. By the way, for a timeline, these are all pretty much like mid-late 60s. Now here's a fun one. So we've got another massive case here. It doesn't even fit in frame, and you'll see why in a minute. But this, I'm actually just going to take the case out. This is a Polaroid Big Shot, as you can see right here. And this essentially got rid of a lot of the like having to stretch out the flash tunnel so that you can take the picture. But at the same time, it is massive. And the reason for this is that if you know how lenses work, the longer your lens tunnel is, the more zoomed in your image is going to be. So this tried to essentially make it very easy to just get portrait shots. If you know any of the pictures of Andy Warhol, then you've likely seen this used before a lot. But you set it up, you put your subject about 4 feet away, take your image, and then you pull this tab out in the back, and you can put all your stuff in. And right here, they've actually added a nice timer to set your exposure. Just like that. The timer itself is set for 60 seconds, I believe. Oh, and I forgot to say, right here, as you can see, this is pretty much an automatic flash diffuser, but right here is where you would actually put the flash component itself, and right here is where you would take your picture. These next few, I don't actually have a timeline on, but they're all very similar cameras, so I just figured I'd put them right in the middle. If I had to guess, though, these are probably early to mid-70s, so that's why I stuck them where I did. If I can get the case to open. Okay, so here we've got a Sankyo Auto 4X, which I really only purchased because I thought it looked nice. And here, if you want, you've got an attachment that you can put into your viewfinder. But you got this, of course, your lens. Right here, you can change your focus and whatnot with your 2 different lenses. You got a flash diffuser for if you end up using it. Here, you can pull this tab, put it around, and your film goes in here. This is very much like all of the other ones that had film, except the difference is that this uses Super 8 film, which is in color, and it looks very, very nice if you've ever seen it. I believe the reason it's called Super 8 is because it moves at 8 frames a second, but I could not remember. Push this down, and you open this in the back, and you've got a battery slot, which I'm actually not going to take out because it's a bit complicated to put in, but if you can see in there, it takes AA's, because these started to get mainstream about this time. So, I'm putting it in the wrong way, hold on. Now what it is this rubber piece keeps getting in my way. There we go. Okay. Then, no, believe it or not, this is not a firearm. This is a Keystone K620. Got a massive viewfinding tunnel here. I don't know why this comes off. I believe it's actually broken, but here's your thing for taking your picture. You've got some zoom adjustment on the top. You've got a slot for your batteries to come out right here. And you click this, takes your videos. However, okay, we'll just take that back real quick. Right here, you can actually unscrew the handle. Now, of course, this handle right here in the front clicks what it takes to actually start recording. However, you can take it off so you can place it on a tripod. So then, place that back. Next one, actually I have the box for, is a Kodak XL55 movie outfit. While it looks nice, the actual material here is horribly uncomfortable and sticky. I do not like it, but it's the same kind of premise as the other cameras. It's just got a very strange design. You've got your viewfinder here, you've got your actual lens. You got your zoom settings are here. I believe this is the button you press to record. And right here, you put your film. And somewhere around here, in some way or another, right here, you can put your, batteries, right here. And as you can see here, AA. Because, as I already stated, AA's were finally starting to actually get used in cameras. Which is nice, because pretty convenient. I'd probably actually find a date on this somewhere. I don't know. So anyways, moving on. We are finally back to Polaroid. It's very sad that this camera, unfortunately, as far as I know, does not work. Because I've taken pictures with it and they look like trash. But I guess you get what you pay for, because good ones are probably about $200 and I paid $80 for this. However, you fold this right here, and you have yourself an SX70. This is an Alpha Executive version, which I believe all that changes is because it's an Alpha, it does not automatically have a flash, but you can attach a flash right here, and you've got your exposure settings, you've got your focus settings. Right here it tells you where you're at, and if you click this, it opens your film slot. So very simple, very easy to use, and that's why these cameras were very, very popular, and that's why Polaroid continued to create these instant development cameras. And no, I don't know what's going on with all this white stuff all over it. I've tried cleaning it. Somewhere along the line, in the same era, not that I know, we have a Minolta. I'll probably remember the model once I see it. You've got a lot of different things in here, but I'd like to first focus on the camera itself. XG7. I really hope this works, because this is a very, very, very nice camera, but I don't know yet. There's already a lens attached to it. I'm not going to take it off because it's going to take a while. You've got your spot here to take it off and take your pictures. A lot of different focus settings, turning it on and off, development. Unfortunately, there's a piece missing here, which I think might make this non-operational. You can attach your flash to the top. You've got a viewfinder. You've got some general advice on how to set things. And that's the entire camera in a nutshell. I believe here you take out your batteries, but I'm not going to do that. And I think the other one is an emergency battery. So here's the other lens I have. It's a very similar type of setting. I don't even think that it's a macro or anything. It's just a slightly smaller lens for slightly wider pictures. Oh, if I can get the piece back on. There we go. And then right here, we have a flash, which of course you can attach to your camera. Unfortunately, I seem to be missing the cover for it, but here's where your batteries would go. I'm pretty sure that's somewhere, so I'll end up finding it someday. But yeah, so this was definitely a professional type of film camera that I really want to use someday, so I hope it works. Alright. Next up, in the 80s, Polaroid finally stepped their game up and created possibly their most iconic cameras, the Sun 600 series. Pretty simple. Right here, you've got some exposure settings, viewfinder, your actual, well no, your viewfinder's here, your image taker's right here, you've got some flash. This tells you it's ready to go. You take your flash here. Doesn't work because I don't have any film in. Here's where your viewfinder is actually at. You open this, and your film's down here. I've actually still got a set of film in, which I could show you. Now this doesn't have any images left, But this is what your film packs will look like. This is the actual battery for it. And here in the front is where your pictures are going to be. And that's that. Next in the 600 series was the autofocus 660, which, as you can imagine, has an autofocus setting right here. And then this is your viewfinder, this is your image taker, all the same kind of stuff. Exposure settings. Sadly, I don't think the flash actually works on this one, but the actual image taking itself should, although the images are not very clear, sadly. So, and then next, you have the Polaroid 600. Let's see, what does this say? Well, it should just be a one-step. It is. So this added the ability to actually change the focus yourself, and it's got a more rounded around setting, but other than that, everything is essentially the same. Kind of wish I'd dusted this off before I brought it in. The flash is kind of yellow, although it doesn't show up on the camera, so I don't know what's really up for that. And lastly in the series, oh wait, never mind, we got two more. We've got a Polaroid Pronto SE. Here in the front, you've got some autofocus, you've got your camera, you've got your viewfinder right here, you've got some changes in exposure. Here on the top, this is for changing auto and manual focus. You place your flash here. This tells you how far your focus is. I don't really know what goes in the back, but take this off. Interestingly enough, this takes SX70 film, so you can transfer those back and forth. So that's pretty simple. And then next, we have a, God, what was this called? I know it's a 600 type, but this was about the mid-2000s because Polaroid was trying to hold on to the relevancy, what they had. Here you've got your images. This is actually a digital film setter. And you open this up. This is your viewfinder. It's kind of shaky. This is a 1/600. So you got your flash, got your image taker, viewfinder, you know the works. I pretty much only picked this up because of its design, but unfortunately whenever I tried taking images with it, they didn't come out very well. Strangely enough, right here is where you push your button to let your film out, and as all the other 600 series, it takes 600 film. I don't believe these sold very well, but it was very cheap, so that's why I bought it. Now moving back to the 80s, because I just wanted to finish that line, I have a Magnavox Movie Maker, which this was one of those big reporter VHS cameras that you would see, although this was more so for home use before they had VHS-C. This is where you would put your massive VHS tape here in the front. And then this right here is a big focusing thing. It's your autofocus. Right here is where it actually organizes. Here you've got your lens. You've got all your stuff set up in the front. It's where you actually change your zoom. This is your record button. This is probably a dysfunctional microphone. You've got a bunch of different settings. Here's your power. Here's your eject button for taking your tapes out, though you have to have a battery in for that. And this is a bunch of different settings, I believe, for logging your videos. And then a lot of these cameras have VCR modes, which so does this one. So normally this is slid down, but you can slide it up, and here you've got a bunch of different things so you can actually watch your tape. Which is why these were popular, because people wanted to finish recording and immediately watch the tape. Somewhere along the way, the Sony Handycam series started to come about. A lot of people don't know, but these were originally in Video 8 format. And the reason for that is because around this time, there was a big battle on whether or not VHS-C or Video 8 would come out. Which, for comparison, let's see if I have one just by itself. I don't believe I do, but these are a bunch of like little VHS-C tapes. And as the name suggests, they're about that thick, by the way. They are just smaller VHS tapes. And the reason why they had started to get popular is because they could fit in much more compact cameras. Pretty self-explanatory. Sony didn't like that very much, and they realized that if they could dominate the format market, then they would get all of the shares. So they started to create the Video 8 format. However, these didn't get very popular because there were not a bunch of Video 8 VCRs. There were already VHS VCRs in circulation. And on top of that, these cassette adapters came in pretty quickly. You could just put your VHS-C in here, and then you could put the entire thing into that VCR and it would work. Video 8 didn't have that kind of conversion. So, for that reason, they died off pretty quickly. However, the camera itself is still pretty interesting to look at. The recording is actually right here because you can take this all off to put it into VCR mode. You've got a microphone here. For taking this off, you've got a battery eject here because here in the front is where your battery goes onto this grip. You can take this out and boom, you've got a Video 8 VCR. As you could see, this was Sony's solution to the fact that there were no Video 8 VCRs. They figured that if they could just attach it to the camera itself, people would still buy them. And right here, you've got your lens. There actually is no viewfinder for this, I don't believe. Oh wait, the viewfinder is attached to the grip itself, so that you cannot mistake them from the camera. You can just set this down, plug it in. You've got it all hooked up to your VCR. Pretty simple. Let's see. Can I get this attached, please? Hold on. There we go. You can plug your microphone back in. This seems to be in pretty good condition, and I actually have the batteries for it too. I just need to get a charger, and this will probably still work just fine, which is really interesting. Video 8 is really strange. So, all that being said, here are my two VHS-C cameras themselves. This is a Panasonic PV-L559. Panasonic pretty much dominated the camera industry around this time. If you've ever used a Panasonic from around this time, you'll know what I'm talking about. I love these cameras. So you've got a digital viewfinder here, which I might actually be able to turn on because I have a battery in this. Oh, I can. So, not that it's showing up very well, but if I can get it to focus through the camera. No, I can't. Well, anyways, that is a clear view, but you come back down through here. Right here is your recording. Of course, it's pretty much what you expect from a VHS camera. And you've got a VCR mode in case you want to watch your tapes back. And then you've got a bunch of different settings. Here's your zoom. Right here, I can actually finally show you the tape eject because I have a battery in this one. Takes a minute. And here you go. Here's a VHS-C tape by itself. Of course, I like seeing all the mechanics inside of it and how they work. You've got a bunch of springs, all your things. Dings, bings. So yeah. And of course, you got your lens in the front, which opens when the camera turns on. Here's a flash, which actually still works, so that's pretty cool. And if I had to guess this is where the mic is, I don't know. Because, like, there's a mic on this camera. It works. I've recorded with this before. There is already a mic built into it, which is very interesting. But, very good investment. Don't regret it. By the way, in case you were wondering, here's the charger for it. Big old brick that you just stick the battery onto. And while I'm on that note, let's see if I can find it. Uh-oh, I actually might not. Oh, here we go. This is the charger for the other SVHS camera. You slide the entire battery onto a rack and plug it in. I'm actually going to find that real quick. Oh, so these batteries are huge. This is a lead acid battery. Like, this could probably run your car. Yeah, you slide it down this rack, and just like that, it plugs in and charges. But unfortunately, this battery doesn't seem to work anymore. Anyways, I don't have as much to say about this one because I haven't tried it yet, but this is just another VHS-C camera by RCA, which of course are known for their stellar camera quality. I hope the sarcasm bleeds through like a gunshot wound. And here you've got your lens, everything. Don't have a battery for it. Got some adapters for VCR playing. Very simple. They were just trying to make a quick buck. Moving on to here's a Video 8. No, here's a High 8 Handycam, which was very similar to Video 8, except they compacted it down even more. And really only bought this camera because I liked all the funny buttons, because I guess the autism goes crazy. But if you look at the front, all this is chewed off, and the microphone seems to have witnessed the horrors of God himself. However, I really like the way that these cameras look, so I picked one up. It's really not anything crazy than the other compact camcorders, except for the fact that the tape format is different. These have some nice color to them, though, so High 8 is interesting. You should watch a High 8 video if you ever get a chance. Moving on, next I have a digital camera from the 90s. This is an HP PhotoSmart 8886. This was one of the first of its type with only 3 megapixels, which is nothing. But yeah, this is the actual charging dock for it, and the camera itself is pretty standard. Got some zoom stuff. You've got some options for navigating the menu. You've got your actual picture taker up here. You've got a recorder. I didn't know that this took videos. You've got some flash. I don't really know what the star is going to do. And then obviously you can switch between your camera and video modes. And you've got your lens in the front, which there's nothing to it. I actually forgot to record this in the initial video, but as an extra outtake, this is a Spectra AF as Freak. And I actually managed to get one completely sealed in the box, which is very nice. I actually bought these because at the time, Polaroid was, because there's a company that revived and started making these films. They had Spectra film, but then I finally buy this, I go to check it out, and they discontinued Spectra pictures in 2019, I believe, which kind of sucks. But we've got the camera itself. I really like the design. You pull this, it opens. You've got some different settings here. The interesting thing here is you had a lot of different settings on this. You set a tone, you set a timer so that you can actually get in the picture. Here's your exposure, here's your flash, here's your autofocus. And these are your buttons to let you know what's going on. A little viewport. Here's where you actually take your pictures. If you push this down, there's your film slot. So pretty simple, but very neat camera. I really like these. So then next, Sony went pretty much digital, and I've got one of their Handycams from the 2000s. I think this is from 2003, but I really don't know. But you've got your small section for looking through and watching your videos, recording them. You can also just stretch this out, and you've got a viewfinder, which I actually seem to pick it up right here. But yeah, you've got your video, your photo mode. Although these were more for recording than taking pictures. If you look right here, oh, it opens. So you've got a DVD-R section right here. These are about the size of a GameCube disc, which I have some around here, but I don't have time to find them. But yeah, you stick it right there and you can record to a DVD-R, but they don't work very well. They're kind of shoddy. And then finally, last but not least, I have a very small Canon PowerShot SD1000, which the battery might finally have died on this. Nope. But yeah, right here you got your window for recording. Very simple. Got some zoom in, zoom out. Oh, well, it just died. But yeah, you've got some video picture modes. You got different settings, all the stuff in the front. Very compact. I don't know how well these did, but of course with the digital era of the 2000s, pretty much anything sold. So that concludes the video. Hope you guys found something interesting in this collection. I'm sure I'm probably going to put some text up whenever it happened, but my family just got home, so that's why the second half of this video is very noisy. But all those things said, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to see more of my collections, just let me know. You know, I've got coins, stamps, records, CDs, let's see, magazines, watches, books if you're really that kind of nerd, all those kind of things. But yeah, so that's it. Probably gonna put this video up in a minute, and I mean, if you guys have any questions, I could probably answer them in the comments too. But that's pretty much it.